This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today.
Hey, what's up, fellow modelers? Will here. Welcome to the Ensign's Chair. I know it's been a while since I put a video out. I think it's been a little over a month probably. But I promise you I am working on things. Most of what's taking up my time is getting the build shed done, the build studio done. So I've got drywall going up and insulation. I've got to put in heating and air conditioning so I can put my models in there. And I've got a couple of stations I've got to build as well. I've got the drywall and insulation probably about 70%, 75% done. And everything else I haven't even started on yet. So I still got a lot of work to do on it. But the other thing that's taking up my time is I think we're about 35 days out, somewhere around there, from Wonderfest. And I've got a couple models I'm trying to get ready. I actually want to put some models in the model competition or show this year. So I've got the Big Bird, which I'm wrapping up. You can see over my right shoulder. Yeah, my right shoulder. Left as I'm looking at you. Over my right shoulder, and that's about done. I should hopefully have the final video out on that this weekend and be done with that. And once I've got that wrapped up, I've got, if you can see, let me move this camera, my original series 1-350 Enterprise. I've got somebody that's looking to buy that, but before I sell it, I've got some work I'm working on. I can't really see it over here, but I've been posting pictures of this base. I think it's right there. Nope, it's down here. Sorry. This custom base I've been working on for it. And I want to get that done. I want to get that entered in the show this year. And on top of that, my Enterprise C, which I actually built last year, but wasn't able to enter it in because I wasn't able to take anything with me because I flew to Louisville for the Wonderfest convention. I want to get that entered this year as well. So, but it did sustain a little bit of damage on my move from New Mexico back here to Virginia. So I got a little repair to do to that. So I've got about 3-4 weeks to get that done. So I'm trying to get that done. And then if I can get that hopefully done pretty quick, I do still have the 1-350 Bird of Prey that I haven't touched in almost a year because I've been trying to focus on getting the big Bird of Prey done for Wonderfest this year. I'd kind of like to have that done for Wonderfest. I don't know if I'll get it done by then, but hopefully I can get back to building that and we can wrap that up because I've got some plans already for my next build after Wonderfest, and that has to do with early this week, everybody learned of the passing of Ian Lawrence. And for those of you that don't know Ian Lawrence, he's a prolific, he was a prolific model builder, and he's been on the scene for years, many years. And if you don't know his name, you may know him by a name he used in a lot of forums, which is Raytheon, which is what the Raytheon effect is named after. And for those of you that don't know what the Raytheon effect is, it's basically using light bleed to light or give the illusion of lighting on certain surfaces. For example, a lot of us that build Star Trek models are using them to light the insignia, the registry, all that stuff on the outside of the ship where you can't possibly get an actual spotlight on it. So he is credited with developing that method, and it's very sad to hear of his passing this week. I can remember, just to go back a little bit, I can remember when I was a kid building these models and not really, it's my cat, not really having any way to light them when I was a kid. So basically I was just putting them together and painting them with whatever paints I had. And I can remember my mom actually signed me up for a model subscription of the month back when I was a kid, and doing that and learning to build planes and cars. I just mentioned that because I know Ian Lawrence not only did sci-fi models, but he also did military vehicles, planes, you name it, he's probably built it. And he's got a build blog up, which I'm going to put the link for that in the notes below. Please visit his page. I've seen that they are planning to keep his page up for about a year. After that, it's unsure. He's got a lot of great builds that he's done on there, that he's done build logs for, as well as some other stuff, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. But later on, when I got into building, I actually fell out of it for about 20 years, until about 10, 12 years ago. All of a sudden, one year for my birthday, my kids bought me a 1350 Enterprise refit. And I built it, but I wasn't sure. I wanted to do more with it than I could when I was a kid. And I wanted to do it justice, especially since my kids gave it to me. I've got to make it look decent. But so I went looking on the internet, and if I had to say there were two influences really that aided me in building that model, one would be Boyd from TrekWorks. I watched his video build on that he had out. I think it's probably the first video build he did of that. I think he's doing the new one. Well, I know he's doing the new one right now. But Boyd from TrekWorks and Ian Lawrence was also my second influence on getting back into modeling and building because of his Raytheon effect. I was looking for a way to light my model and give it a realistic look. And I came across some templates he had made, which I'm trying to find again. I think I've got them saved somewhere. He had made for actually light blocking the shapes to light block for the Raytheon effect, to have it show through, and light up all those areas. So I'm trying to find those again. I know I've got them saved somewhere. But on top of that, I also watched or looked at his build log that he did on it, which is an excellent build log. It shows a lot of stuff that he's done, that he did as far as trying to make it more accurate. Without going to, I don't think he used a lot of aftermarket parts. He used some. But for the most part, he tried to use a lot of the basic parts that came with it. He did use some photo etch and stuff like that. But anyway, I was very sad to hear of his passing, and I had seen it posted on one of the Trek Model Facebook pages about doing a tribute build for Ian. And this was before he had actually passed. And I was hoping to get into that build and start on it before, and hopefully he was going to be around with us a little bit longer to at least see some of these builds done. But unfortunately, we heard he passed away this week. And I decided that my next build was going to be a tribute build for Ian Lawrence because of his influence he had on me in modeling. So what I decided to do, I'm going to say, first of all, when I show you what I'm doing, which should be obvious if you saw the intro, but I did not want to build this model next. This was way down on my list. I've already built one of these before. I didn't do a video log on it, but I built one before. They're a beast to build if you want to do it right. And also, everybody's building one right now on their video pages. Boyd's doing a update on his. Spruverse is doing one. Even World of Wayne's doing one right now, and there's a couple other pages I've seen too that are doing builds of the 1350 refit. So I really did not want to do this model as my next build. I wanted to do something different. I like to do different things when I do my builds, and I don't know that there's really anything I can add to it that aren't in those other builds, but I've got some ideas. First of all, let me just say that I'm going to build this not as the refit from the movie, but as it appeared in Star Trek's 4, 5, and 6. So as the A, which we're not going to get into the semantics of when it became the A and what the differences are between the A. I'm going to talk about some of those differences, and I'm not going to really do an unboxing. I've got the model right here, and my cat's going crazy because he wants to go outside. But I've got the model right here. I'm not going to do an unboxing on it because there's already a dozen videos out there with unboxings, and if you're watching this video, you've either already got the model and you're looking to build it, or you're trying to decide whether or not you want to get the model and build it. In which case you will see the parts, but I'm just not going to do a regular unboxing. But I do have some parts that I want to talk about that I'm looking at right off the bat to do. This being a tribute build, I'm going to try to go mostly with Ian's build log that he has on his webpage, and build it in the order that he built it for the most part. There may be some stuff where I jump around, but for the most part I'm going to use that as kind of a guide to do. And on top of that, I'm trying to use some of the parts that he made himself. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. So give me a minute. I'm going to pull these parts out, get them all together so I can show you. And give me a minute, put you on the bench. We'll take a look. All right, guys, so I got the saucer part pulled out, and I've forgotten how massive this model is. I can't even fit it all the way in screen here. Even if I try to bring my camera up a little bit higher, I still can't quite fit it all in there. But so let's talk about just my plans for this model, or what I'm working on. And first thing I want to say is, those of you that aren't familiar or aren't quite aware, there are a couple differences between, I said I was doing the A, not the refit. And again, don't get into the argument about the Yorktown Maven, if that's even what the A was built. I don't even want to get into all that. This is the A, not the bloody 1701 with no bloody A, no bloody B, no bloody. This is the A, okay? So the difference between this and the one that appeared in the motion picture, and actually the whole reason I don't want to get into that is because really the model was repainted between between the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan, but it didn't become the A, or wasn't the A until after the events in Star Trek 3. So, or actually, I'm sorry, Star Trek 4. At the end of Star Trek 4, we see it, the A. So, but the differences between the A and the original refit in the motion picture, a couple of them. So the main one was the painting. When you do the refit from the motion picture, and I think that's what most people are doing on their video builds right now. I'm not doing that. I'm doing the A. And the difference is the motion picture had all that bright paint, the rainbowy colored, luminescent, pearlescent looking paint colors. And they dulled that down after the first movie to make it easier to film the miniature, because the different pearlescent colors just reflected the light too much, made it hard to film. And they dulled it down. So actually starting in Star Trek 2 thereon, it's the same model, but just the paint's a little bit different. They dulled down the Aztecs, and they also, you'll notice when you get this model, if you don't already have it, they give you two sets of decals for the strong backs and for the pylons. And that's because in the motion picture it was more of a greenish color for the strong backs and the pylons, and also around your navigational deflector. And then when they did the dull down, they did some repaint, and the strong backs and everything became more of a blue color instead of green. And so that's one of the big differences between these two, is that there's a little bit different of a paint color scheme. Now, when you look at pictures of the studio model before and after, even after they dulled this down, you can still see some of those pearlescent colors coming through. It's not dulled down evenly. If you notice, for instance, if you look at, let me see if I can pull a picture up. If you look at the shuttle bay in particular, the shuttle bay doors, if you look at the shuttle bay doors, you can see that there's still some of that pearlescent color coming through. And you see that on the front of the nacelles as well, and a couple other spots you can still see that those pearlescent colors coming through. And so it's not repainted to the point where it's actually like a bunch of different shades of gray. When I got this model the first time, when my kids bought it for me, it came with a set of Aztecs, which was great. I hate that round 2 took them out. The Polar Lights took them out, and they're not in with this kit anymore. But It came with a set of Aztecs, and they were a couple different shades of gray, if I remember correctly, for the Aztecs. And of course, it was just a simple Aztec pattern, not as complicated as the pattern is for the pearlescents. But so I'm toying with some ideas as far as what paint scheme I want to do on this. I'm definitely going to do more of a grayish toned paint scheme. And I was really inspired by that by Bill Kraus. Did a 1/537 smoothie not too long ago, and he did just it looked like just a basic gray pattern on it. It looked awesome, and I'm kind of inspired by that. But I also want to play around with some paints and see if I can maybe get the paints to create somewhat of a where you get just a hint of pearlescence without actually doing a separate pearlescent cover and then coming back and dulling it down. I'm not doing that. I'm not crazy enough to go through the trouble of doing all those pearlescents. Though I'm sure somebody has. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing all the pearlescent paint on this and then coming over and spraying it down with some white base coat or something to dull it down. I'm not doing that. If there's another way I can do it, I will. Otherwise, I will just look to do some subtle differences in grays when I do. I've ordered the Aztec pattern from Mask Design, so that'll be coming in, and I think that's meant for a 5-color paint scheme, and we'll see what I do with it. But that's kind of what I'm playing with right now. If I can do something that gives the grayish tones with maybe a hint of some of the reflective, the pearlescent paint, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do that. But other than that, I'm not going to go too crazy on it. But I will be doing the paint on this. If you are not of the skill level that you want to do the airbrushing Aztec, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, go over to my good friend Gus over at GCals and take a look at what he has to offer over there. He has some great Aztecs available. He also has, you can do custom. If you don't want to do the Enterprise for this, you can do custom registries and all that. So pay him a visit if you're not feeling that you want to get into the whole airbrush thing. And I may still get some decals from him, some aftermarkets from him, because they tend to be better than what comes with the kit, what Gus puts out. So I may go ahead and just get the registries and everything, the markings from Gus anyway, and just put this sheet in reserve, this sheet of decals that came with it in reserve somewhere. But so anyway, so that's my plans for the paint. Not quite decided yet what I'm going to do some paint tests, and I'll share those as I go, and we'll see what it looks like. But I did want to talk about right off some things I had decided to do with some different aftermarket parts. Now, Cass over at Lake Monster Details is working on some new add-ons for this, which he is going to give to me at Wonderfest. So that's another reason why I'm not starting this build till after Wonderfest, on top of getting all this other stuff out the way. But he's going to bring me some other parts. He's got a Star Trek 6 styled dining officer's mess, I guess, whatever you want to call it, that replaced the officer's lounge that used to be that was back here in the refit. But so he's bringing me that, and he's also bringing me, I believe, aftermarket accurate parts, resin parts for the Impulse engines as well. So I'll be getting those parts from him. I think he's bringing me some other parts, so we'll take a look at those when I get back from Wonderfest with those. But I've got some other parts here I kind of want to compare. These parts I've got over here are from the ModelWorks STL file that you can buy from ModelWorks. And I've been looking at some of the parts. Well, I'm sorry, not all these parts are from ModelWorks. This one is not. We'll talk about this one in a minute. But these are also part of that, and that's part of that. But these are the parts from ModelWorks. And I've got the Arboretum, and I've got that printed up. And I'm going to look at painting that. It comes, you got this one piece here, and then you've got all these trees that print up as well that go on there separately. So I think it'll look pretty good. I think it'll turn out real nice, and I think I can do a good job with that and get that to light up real good, and get some detail, some extra detail on this that doesn't really come with the stock kit part. In addition, you've got these parts here that go on either side of the shuttle bay on the back, And the way they're printed, it makes it real easy to paint these. I think these are clear parts with the kit. But these are resin printed resin parts that I printed. And it's actually got some nice detail in here, and they'll let the light shine through. So even painting, it's not going to block the light, whereas you've got to be careful with that. If I remember correctly, these are clear parts on the model that come with it. And it came with a little more detailed photon front there, photon housing. So I'll be looking to use that. It comes with a deflector ring, which again, I got to look. I didn't pull this out of the kit, but I think these are clear parts too. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I'll have to look at it. But I think it's a clear part, and it's a little bit hard to paint as a clear part because you've got to somehow mask off all these little openings. Whereas this, I can just paint this, and then once I get it painted, I can backfill this with maybe some clear resin, UV resin, if that's what I want to do. But that'll make it easier to paint. And the other things I want to look at, this is the bridge. Let me see if I can make sure I'm focused in here good. Oh, too much. This is the bridge from ModelWorks that I printed. And you can see it's got some really nice detail to it. It's actually pretty accurate, and it's a bit more accurate than the part that comes with the kit. The kit part, well, for one thing, the openings are actually molded into the top of this, which I'm going to take out. That's going to get removed, and this whole part's going to get opened up. We'll get more into that when I get into the build. But you can see that the kit part is actually missing some detail. For example, these vents that you can see on this part are not present on the kit part. And I'll show you a photo. They are on the studio part. So you can see those vents on the studio model, but they're not on the kit part. In addition, there's just a little more detail on this part, and the openings for the spotlights are already there. So that's great. So I'm going to use the printed part from ModelWorks. I'm going to give that the win on the comparison between these two, because there's just some detail that's missing. Even on the side, this detail here on the side here is more accurate to the studio model than this part here, which I don't even know if you can see it on camera, but it's not accurate to the studio model. So I'm going to be using the aftermarket part for that, and this is just going to go in the parts bin. So other than that, the lower sensor dome, again, this is a printed part from ModelWorks. This is the base kit part, and to be honest with you, after I compared these to the studio model, the kit part's actually pretty good. It's more accurate than this part. This part is it's the vents on the top here are too small, and the dome itself is way smaller on the ModelWorks part than it is on the kit part, and the kit part looks to be more accurate to the studio model. The only discrepancy I saw with the kit part and the studio model was that this maybe comes out a little bit too much, and it just tends to make this look more circular than it should be, which is probably the only thing that this part does do a little bit better job of. But other than that, this part's it's off on accuracy on a lot of spaces. This one's way more accurate. So I will not be using the aftermarket part for this one. I will be using the kit part instead. So polar lights, round 2 for the win on that one. And the deflector dish housing. So I noticed this. This part here is off of Ian Lawrence's page. He did the 3D design on this, and it's totally free. If you've got a 3D printer, I highly recommend you get this part while you still can. I have seen, I don't remember the website, and even if it was, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I've seen somebody selling this part or a similar part for $30, and it's free on Ian's page as long as you got a printer. So if you don't have a 3D printer, maybe maybe you feel like paying $30. I would not pay $30 for this part. It's not that big of a deal, but there are some differences. For example, on the studio model, if I can get this to show up without the light, these ridges on either side here should be at an angle, a slight angle in towards each other, as you can see on this one. You see how these kind of angle in towards each other a little bit? Well, this one on the model kit part, these are straight out, they're parallel to each other. And that's not correct in terms of the studio model. And I apologize to Jamie if he sees this video. I'm not trying to nitpick. I appreciate the work he put in, that was put into this model, and that it's a really good model, but it can be made better. There are some things that can be made better, and this is one of them. This part is different, and the part that Ian made is more accurate than the kit part. On top of that, your thruster ports should be flush. There shouldn't be a I think this is just an insert that you put in here with the model. I haven't gone through all the parts, but it should be flush. So it's more accurate in that, looking at it that way too. So on top of that, just as with the kit part, this has a opening for a 3mm LED. And I will be using a bicolored LED for that to do the color change. On top of that, Ian did a really good job with this part, because not only did he make the part, but he also made shadow boxes, or light boxes I should say, for the thruster ports. So you pop these off and they slide in there, and a 3mm LED will go on each of these. Not only that, but he did clear pieces, clear inserts that you push in, that insert into the holes that protrude there. So it's going to be a really nice part to use for this build, and it's really fitting to use it since this is an Ian Lawrence tribute build. So, but anyway, this video is getting kind of long, and I'm sure you guys are bored to death because I'm really not getting into any build itself stuff. So, but I just wanted to kind of go over that and express my condolences to the family and friends of Ian Lawrence, and let him know that he did, and I'm sure they're aware, but let them know that they did have an impact. He had an impact, I should say, on a lot of people, including myself. And I am looking forward, actually, the only reason I'm looking forward to building this is to do it justice in memory of Ian. So look for me to start on this after Wonderfest, which is the second weekend in June. So once I get back from that, I'll start looking at getting into this and getting it done. But anyway, guys, sorry it's been a while since I put out a video. Like I said, hopefully I'll have the final video for that Bird of Prey build out this weekend, and we can wrap that up and start kind of looking at moving on to some other stuff, including the aforementioned build that I will be doing with this model. So again, thank you everybody for watching. Thank for everybody subscribing. If you haven't subscribed and you get any useful information out of this video, please hit that subscribe button below, and then hit that little bell icon, so when I do start doing these builds, if you're interested in seeing it, you'll get the updates on that automatically. But again, thank you to my comrades at arms, Gus over at GCals and Cass over at Lake Monster Details for their support and assistance. I look forward to seeing those guys at Wonderfest, as well as many of you who will be at Wonderfest. Please flag me down and say hello. So again, thank you everybody for watching. Till next time, keep modeling.